Yashahime is an anime that I've really been enjoying these past few months. As a longtime Inuyasha fan, this sequel series has played into my nostalgia for the original show while also providing an entertaining new storyline. Now that season 1 is over, with a second season confirmed, I want to go over my final thoughts about this part of the Yashahime story. I think it goes without saying that this video will contain spoilers for the most recent episodes, so if you've been waiting to binge the full season in one go, you might want to come back when you're finished. With that being said, let's start with an overview of the series itself. As an anime-only story, Yashahime follows 3 girls who are related to the main cast of Inuyasha characters. There's Sesshomaru's daughters, Towa and Setsuna, who got separated from each other at a young age. Towa grew up in the modern era with Kagome's brother, and Setsuna grew up in the feudal era as a demon slayer. Then, there's the daughter of Inuyasha and Kagome, Motoha, who became a bounty hunter. Once they meet, the story takes a few different paths. We follow Motoha's quest to pay off a debt, and Towa's quest to restore Setsuna's ability to dream. Plus, there's the larger overarching plot about the demon Kirimaru, and a prophecy that led him trying to kill the 3 protagonists, which in turn led them to being separated from their families, and so on. Many threads of mystery are picked up by the story, and even by the end of the season, we don't know where some of those threads are leading. I think that the main plot is one of the best things about the series. It ties into the minor plot lines in ways that are clever and don't become clear until later on. For example, Motoha is working to pay off a debt that she owes, because of her mentor, which I forgot how to pronounce. She'd been raised by her as part of the Wolf Demon tribe. Motoha needed to be entrusted to the tribe because Sesshomaru sealed her parents away with the Black Pearl. He sealed them away to protect them from Kirimaru, who wanted to kill Motoha because of a prophecy, and the Black Pearl existed because of the demon Zero, who told Kirimaru about the prophecy in the first place. She had cried after hearing about the death of the great dog demon, Motoha's grandfather, and the pearls came from her tears. This is just one example, but it shows how something that seems unrelated to the main plot, like Motoha being money hungry, is actually very important now that we have the whole picture. Another thing I think Yashahime has done incredibly well is the introduction of new characters into the Inuyasha universe. The 3 main characters are very likable, but different enough from each other due to how they grew up. Their designs in particular are clever because of how they combine traits from their parents, who are themselves well-known characters. So being able to see which parts of Towa and Setsuna come from Sesshomaru, while still remaining 2 very different characters, is satisfying for fans of the original anime. In particular, I think Motoha is a great blend of Inuyasha and Kagome, because you can see that she gets certain traits from her father or her mother, but she's still Motoha. It would have been easy to just make her look like Kagome and act like Inuyasha, but the creators of Yashahime did a good job of avoiding that. I also like Kirimaru a lot as a new villain. He's in sort of a gray area, where he wants to kill the 3 Yashahime girls, but he wants to wait until they're strong enough to give him a challenge. The scale of his power being comparable to Toga is really cool, as well as the respect that he clearly holds towards the Great Dog Demon. His design is interesting, using darker colors and simple armor, compared with Sesshomaru's mostly white, more complex appearance. The reveal of Kirimaru's more dragon-like features during episode 24 was also a surprise, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him and his powers in the next part of the story, especially since, so far, he seems to be used as a contrast with Sesshomaru. The other 2 major characters we are introduced to are Zero and Riku. Zero is called the Beautiful Demon, and she is shown to always be dressed in an elaborate way. She's clearly framed as a villain from her introduction, and she's given more depth as the season goes on. For example, we learn that she was in love with Toga, and his death was what led to the creation of the Rainbow Pearls. Riku is a bit of a more confusing character, because at first it seems like he's helping Towa, then like he's helping Zero and Kirimaru, and he goes between them all throughout the show. I thought he seemed shady from the beginning, but I think he really did care about Towa in spite of his allegiance to Zero. Honestly, Riku is someone I definitely want to see more of in season 2, just to find out what he'll do next. I also want to highlight how well the creators made callbacks to the original Inuyasha anime, because that's something that kept surprising me through the season in the best way. The build-up to Sesshomaru showing up to meet his daughters for the first time in a decade was just long enough, and finally learning that Rain was the mother was so exciting. Like many other fans, I do have my problems with Sesshomaru having children with Rin, but at the same time, I'm glad she was included in the series. And although she was probably the only character they could have chosen, the reveal was still a shock. I'm holding out hope that Towa and Setsuna will get to meet her soon. Another callback that I absolutely loved was the episode with Shiori. since her story in Inuyasha was one of my favorites. She had been bullied for being a half-demon as a child. Then in Yashahime, she went on to help take care of half-demon children herself. I thought this was such a wholesome detail to add to the overall story, and it made me like Shiori even more than I already did. It was clever to pick up this character that a lot of viewers probably wouldn't have remembered from Inuyasha, and bring her back into the show in a way that helped to develop Setsuna's backstory. Such attention to detail is very impressive, and shows how much they care about the Inuyasha universe as a whole. Now that we've covered all the things I really enjoyed, let's talk about a negative. I think many will agree there were some issues with pacing. Several episodes from the middle of this season came across like filler episodes, which play into the Monster of the Week format that Inuyasha and many other anime follow. However, in an anime that's not following a manga, these kinds of episodes aren't always necessary. They can feel like they're stalling the main plot rather than adding to it. I don't think there was an excuse for the filler that we got in Yashahime, as nice as it was having 24 episodes. I assume they did this to make sure the plot wasn't advanced too quickly while also developing the relationships between the characters. But they already did a good job of showing those relationships early on, and that's why we felt like it was slowing the story down. I really hope that the feedback about pacing reached the creators of the show, and that it'll be taken on board for season 2. With the ending, we got that season 2 announcement, which I'm very excited about. Some extra plot points were introduced quite late on, hinting towards a second season being in the works. The dream butterfly mystery wasn't solved, but with the death of Setsuna, we saw the butterfly return to her. We now have even more questions about that. Zero breaks Tenseiga in episode 23, which hinted that it would be given to Toa. She already uses a sword that's broken in exactly the same way, and as the season ends, with Sesshomaru handing the broken Tenseiga to her, we get this sweet image of the two of them together, considering how little we've seen them interact. Additionally, Zero's collected rainbow pearls are scattered by Kinimaru as punishment for trying to kill the Yashahime trio, despite the fact that he wants them dead. So we want to see the conclusion of two plot points here, the prophecy and the pearls. Riku ends up setting with Zero to go and collect the pearls. We're left wondering how this will affect his relationship with Toa since he's been shown as her friend, or even a possible romantic interest. We see Toa and Motoha both getting an incredible power-up in the wake of Setsuna's death. Motoha's courtesy of Toga and his spirit being her on the battlefield, whereas Toa's seem to be linked to Sesshomaru. They're still not strong enough to beat Kinimaru though, so of course we want to see what it will take to defeat him. We also see Rin waking up and going back to sleep within the tree as Zero almost dies, and crying as her daughters are attacked. Is there a way to wake her up without also killing her, since her life is tied to Zero's? How aware is she of what's going on? The involvement of Sesshomaru's mother, linked to the afterlife in some way for the second time, could have been a callback, but maybe it has greater repercussions within the story. Finally, most importantly, Inuyasha and Kagome are still sealed away at the border of the afterlife by Sesshomaru, and haven't returned yet. So that's the most obvious plot point that needs to still be resolved. I can't tell you how badly I want to see their reunion with Motoha. This is definitely the part that I most want to see continued in season 2, as I can only imagine how sweet they will be with their daughter. Well, those are my final thoughts on what has been a really engaging season to kick off Yashahime. I'm excited that we're getting another part to this story, and I'm sure many others feel the same way. This year is really turning out to be a great time to be an anime fan, with so much to look forward to. So let me know in the comments how you're feeling about the end of Yashahime's first season, and what you're hoping to see in season 2.